Well, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. Now, these lights are blinding me right now. I can't see many of you guys, but I believe that this is the first time many of you guys see me. And before we even move on, let's do something really quick. I want you to take a few seconds to take a good look at me. To number one, appreciate my beauty. That's a priority. And number two, imagine what type of a person I might be. Now, I know we've just met, yet in the last 5 seconds, you have probably already written my whole biography. Before I even opened my mouth, your brain performed an involuntary audit. What does that mean? It means that you saw my ethnicity, my age, my poster, and began to autofill the data points of my life. Now, I'm sure everyone was able to tell that I'm Asian. Some of you might have even been able to tell that I'm Chinese. Now that you know I'm Chinese, what other thoughts came popping into your mind? She probably gets straight A's in maths. She probably plays an instrument, likely the piano. Her diet is probably eating rice and noodles every single meal. Boring. And most of all, are you ready for this? She probably knows Chinese Kung Fu and can fight a gorilla in the wild. Which of these thoughts came to your mind, and what other thoughts did you have when you first saw me? Every single day, we make more than 35,000 decisions. Whoa, and most of them are shaped by frames, mental boundaries that we don't even realize exist. Now, as a Chinese student, I have so far proved you all right. I am exactly all those things that you could have possibly associated me with. I'm a math-loving, piano-playing student who, yes, eats rice and noodles every single meal. And on top of that, I do actually know Chinese Kung Fu and can find not just one, but 2 gorillas in the wild. Did anyone actually believe that? Fine, I can't actually fight a gorilla, too bad. But everything else, you nailed it. Now, it might feel like you win for your intuition, right? But take a second to ask yourself, is this a common characteristic? Or is it just the most convenient lens through which to view me? Because when we rely on these model templates, we aren't actually meeting someone. We're just confirming a pre-existing narrative. A 2025 study among university students in University Tuan Hussein Malaysia found strong racial stereotype patterns. For example, when asked about perceived intelligence, Malay respondents rated Chinese and Indian peers to be the top 2. Now, you might be wondering, what's the big deal, right? They're saying that we're smart. It's a compliment. Now, on the surface, we might call this a positive stereotype. But why does our brain do this? Well, frankly, it's because humans are all lazy beings. Just like how you choose to sit and listen to my speech instead of standing up, right? Throughout history, we've invented too much stuff. We've invented the wheel for transportation, so we don't need to do the labor. We've invented printers, so that copies of books could be made without having to write them by hand. We've invented the washing machine so that the laundry could be done automatically. Now, the same logic is applied when we meet someone new. Our brains, over here, have developed heuristics, which are basically mental shortcuts used by us to outsource the labor of thinking. And these come into play, as I've said before, when we meet someone new. Instead of actively getting to know this new person, we tend to look through pre-prepared frames. And these are basically model templates that we assume to be mostly accurate. And you know what? They aren't always wrong. If someone plays golf, they're probably rich. If someone wears glasses, just like me, they're probably nearsighted because they study all day long, and therefore they're a nerd. Before we even know someone, we think we already know everything about them. We think we're being observant. But in reality, we're just being reductive. I'm gonna share one of my personal experiences. All right, a few weeks ago, that's when I wrote the script, it's months ago now, we received our math exam grades. And I can tell you, I was really excited because days and nights before the exam, I worked hard, I studied late, boom, my effort paid off. And I got decent grades, and I was satisfied. Now, I'm not the type of person that can keep a secret for long, so I had to share this with my friends. If you were there at lunchtime, you would have seen me bouncing up and down like a spring, grinning ear to ear. And I was like, guys, I can't believe I got such a good math grade. Last section was so hard, I barely got time to finish it. And that was kind of awkward because a few seconds ticked by, but there was no reaction. And it was until a little while later when one of my friends finally opened her mouth and said, "Oh, come on, Yizhen, of course you got math exam grades, good math exam grades. Isn't that just part of your Chinese genetics?" Whoa. I was stunned. Not a great job, not a high five, but my success for which I had worked for had been attributed to my ethnicity? The late nights of studying flashed before my eyes, and I come to realize that this is the hidden tax behind positive stereotypes. When the world frames you as naturally gifted because of your ethnicity, they aren't complimenting you. They're saying that your hard work doesn't count. Basically turning your achievements into expectations. Something that you are meant to do, that you are meant to be able to achieve the moment that you were born. And I finally start to realize how deep this social prejudice really runs. When people assume that you are the way you are, not because of the work you've done or the effort you put in, but because of this false idea that you were meant to be this way. Now, after this reality check, I had to flip the lens back onto myself. I had to ask, when have I been the one holding these frames, like behind prison bars, mentally trapped? And that's when it all clicked. I saw the girl was quiet and often sat at the back row, and I labeled her as timid. What I didn't see was the athlete who commanded the volleyball court and was the best on the team. I saw the boy with broad shoulders and athletic build, and I felt him in a job. What I didn't know was that someone so strong would enjoy the art of crochet and the quiet joy of creating room decor. Oh dear, I finally realized how I'm deeply trapped in these frames that, hey, I didn't even build myself, but one that I've adapted from others. And we tend to reinforce these frames, especially when they coincidentally work or happen to perfectly apply to someone, right? Congratulating ourselves on our intellect. But in doing this, we neglect just how limited and outdated these frames really are. Now, humans as individuals all demonstrate different values. Just because someone from Germany is tall, it doesn't mean that everyone from Germany is 6 foot. Just because someone chooses to be quiet in a loud room, like you guys are right now, it doesn't mean that you lack a voice or that you don't want to engage. Do you realize that when we just try to apply that model template onto a complex individual, it really isn't just fair? Has everyone here heard of the line, "Do you believe in love at first sight? Or should I walk fast by again?" Now, just like that, we can't choose, unfortunately, how the world decides to look at us at first sight. But we can choose what to do next. To continue holding the frames and stay in the comfortable world of templates, or to shatter the glass and replace lazy assumptions and common bias with inquiry and understanding. Because when we finally get rid of these frames that we've been carrying for the past years, we might as well finally have the opportunity to learn about someone, something that we couldn't have possibly noticed before. And that is when we give them back their humanity and start seeing them as stories to be discovered. Now, I hope you guys are enjoying this so far, but you must all have a question in mind. How? How do we do this? how do we achieve this state, refusing that little mental shortcut thingy? It's actually really simple. And every single one of you here today can do this. And it starts with a simple 3-second habit that I give it a fancy name called the counter evidence audit. The next time you meet someone and your brain offers you that instant biography, whether it's about their accent, their appearance, the way they look, the clothes they're wearing, stop. Give yourself exactly 3 seconds to find one anomaly. Ask yourself, what is one thing about this person that doesn't fit the script I just wrote over here? If you see the jog, look for the sensitivity in the expressions. If you see the quietness, look for the strength in their posture. By actively hunting for that one piece of data that breaks the template, you force your brain to turn from autopilot into investigation mode. You finally choose to prioritize the individual over the category. You are choosing to see the person standing in front of you rather than the ghost of a stereotype. Because remember, from all the people you've met yesterday, the people you're meeting right now, like me, the people that you will meet tomorrow, they're always more unexpected, more complicated, and more human than the frames you've initially put them in. The quiet girl who sat at the back of the row, whoa, she could have the loudest ideas. That strong athlete you see on the volleyball court, she could be a really big fan of poetry. That smart student that always gets 8, he could be struggling in class right now in the quiet corner. And about this Chinese girl standing in front of you right now, well, she probably doesn't fight a gorilla in the wild. Probably. Thank you so much.